Hi, I'm Danny Whitfield.
And I'm Rhoda Whitfield. And it's time for another segment of Marriage Takes Work.
Hello, and welcome to another segment of Marriage Takes Work. We have a hot topic for discussion today, along with our special guest, Pastor Darrick, and First Lady McGhee of the Bible-Based Church. So don't change that dial. We'll be right back after we acknowledge our sponsor.
Our sponsor is Brian D. Smith Cleaning Service. They can be contacted at 850-566-3911 or visit them at bdscleaning.com.
Now let's get to the show.
So here we are again, and recognizing that marriage still is a journey that requires us to work every day. And it's on our marital journey that we realize that marriage will not always be great. And so we have some good days, and there are going to be some down days. However, our goal is to always be transparent and sharing with other couples that marital issues are universal. That's something that we all go through. So today we want to discuss believing in your unbreakable bond. Yeah. And I'm looking at the two words, unbreakable. Unbreakable bond. What does that mean to me? And to me, it starts with the belief, a truth, a statement of mine that come hell or high water, whatever comes before us, there is something that holds us together, that won't separate us. Therefore, it makes it to be unbreakable. And when we look at the institution of marriage, it's one that was designed to be unbreakable. And so that's my thing about unbreakable. What do you guys feel about that?
I believe unbreakable is no matter what happens, no matter what we face, no matter what I go through, I know he's still there. And I know at the end of the day, he's going to always have my back. I don't have to worry about if life happens to us, him saying goodbye. I know that we are in this thing together.
Yeah.
And I'll add, for me, it's the reminder of the foundation you built, right? Key and I were blessed. We started out as friends, and we built our entire relationship and marriage on friendship. So when we first got married, for example, we first bought our house after 1 year of being married, and we ended up having to expend finances that we weren't expecting to do in our closing. And our first 2 weeks of being in our new home, we didn't have a lot of money, and it was a test.
Yes,
we didn't call family, we didn't call friends. We just looked at each other and said, we're gonna get through this together. And there was never a point in those 2 weeks where we ever felt like the other person was trying to find the door, because we were friends. We withstood it together. And I think marriage is, when you enter into a marriage, my wife was asking me this when we were talking about marriage, if I had any advice for young couples, what would I give? And I said 3 things. I would say, number 1, keep God first. Number 2, marry your best friend. And number 3, plan for the future, but live in the present. And I stand by that. That I married my best friend. And so, as she mentioned, when things get real rocky and challenging, people see the outside. They want your marriage so that they think, they don't realize what you had to endure. But our friendship is such where no matter what, we know we gonna hang out, we gonna fight through it, we're gonna get through it together, and we're gonna be able to testify about it in the end.
Yeah. And I concur with everybody, because I can remember the days that the only thing, maybe I made a pot of soup on Monday, and we had to eat soup and cornbread for the whole week. But my beliefs was this: a hungry stomach never cared how it got full. It just wanted something to eat.
That's good.
So that was something that we had to endure together.
Mhm.
as a team. And it wasn't that, I was from Tallahassee. I could have bolted back home, to get that kind of security. But I took a vow to stand with this man regardless,
Yes. Yes.
regardless of the obstacles we had to cross, or the battles we had to fight in order, or the meals that we had to miss.
Yeah.
We had to do what we had to do. And there were times that you only had enough just to feed your child. You did what you had to do, and you kept going until things got better.
Yeah.
So unbreakable.
Yeah.
People really need to understand what an unbreakable bond is, because when you took your vows, you vowed that regardless,
Yep.
you would stay and work through whatever situation is confronted, the two of you.
Yep. Absolutely correct.
And that to me is something that's so lacking in our present marriages, because we don't have that mindset that we're in it to win it.
Mhm.
We're just in it for the time being, for the affection, for the shape, for what you bring to the marriage, but not what's inside of me and what's inside of you, that we're growing together such that whatever happens,
Yep,
it's unbreakable.
Yep.
Oh,
And
go ahead, Darrick. Go
I'm gonna
ahead,
say, and couples have to remember too, is with life comes unforeseen circumstances. So I call it, life's going to happen, right? The things that you can prepare the best you possibly can for whatever, and something is going to throw it awry, and you have to be prepared for that. TD Jake said this years ago that I really believe. He said, your blessing is your children's normal. When we think about our marriage, just having celebrated 20 years, we look back on it, and my wife always says, man, it's hard to realize it's 20 years, but our children have never experienced struggle the way we did when we first got married. When our son was born, we had been married 3 years, and they've always grown up in a 2-parent household. Something's been in the refrigerator, so on and so on. Those first 3 years of marriage, that really wasn't our truth. We really had to endure a great deal. We are probably the first generation from our family standpoint that, from home ownership and things of that nature. And so there was a lot of things we had to do first. But when I think about it from our kids' perspective, they'll never appreciate struggle. But to me, that's a great blessing, because that means that we withstood, that we didn't fold up the tent, move, and break apart. And I think that's very, very key. But in some marriages, as soon as things get
Yes, sir.
uncomfortable, somebody's looking to get out the door fast.
Fight
And
or flight.
yeah, say it again.
Fight or flight.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
People that today don't want to fight for their marriage. Their first thing is to flight, is to exit the door and not work. Because I can remember 2 years into our marriage, I had health issues.
Yeah.
The doctor didn't even know if I was going to have kids.
Yeah.
Just last year, the doctor came in the room and thought I had ovarian cancer. So life is going to happen.
Yeah.
But like you said, if you don't have that bond, and you don't know, like, at the end of the day, he has my back and I have his back.
Yep. Very true.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Well, going back to something you said, Darrick, about, your kids not knowing what a struggle is. Actually, I didn't really know what a struggle was when I got married, because
Okay.
I came out of, I had a mom and a stepdad, and both of them worked. And my stepfather, when my older sister and I got old enough to drive, he provided both of us with a car. So I really didn't know. But I was a sacrificing person, because when I bought my first car, I had a little part-time job. And so I had to decide, okay, do I pay my, he kind of prepared me going into a marriage for a struggle before I got married. It was called, you gonna pay your car note, or you gonna go to the mall? Well, I had to pay my car note. I had to pay my insurance. And after I did that, and my little phone bill of a phone in my room, I didn't have no money left. My aunt had to then give me gas money to put in my car. So, they may not know what a struggle is right now.
Correct. That's a good point.
But in time, Everybody has to will experience some kind of struggle.
Will experience, correct.
They're gonna eventually, because they're not gonna be in your house all their life. I know neither one of y'all gonna let them live in your house all your life. You get a certain age, you need to be out there paying your own bills, whether it's for your mansion or your shack, whichever one you choose.
Our daughter's already told me when she get married, she and her spouse are moving back in with her daddy, and he gonna take her last name, and he gonna be a stay-at-home father. She gonna go to work, and I'm like, that sounds like a great plan that you think is gonna happen right now in 2022. Our son's like, as soon as the door can let him out, he's leaving.
Yeah,
but you're right. But at the same point, you're right. They don't know struggle as I would define it. But you're right. At some point, they're gonna have to experience life. And what comes with that, right? They're gonna have to. And even right now, our son is a penny pincher. Right. If he gets some money, he ain't trying to spend nothing. But he'll help you spend yours, but he ain't trying to spend his. Whereas our daughter, as soon as she gets it, she's trying to spend it. And as we know, life is going to happen in that regard. When we got married, I came out of, I didn't have a lot of money growing up in general. And so I've always counted every cent.
Every cent.
And Takia's from Tallahassee. So Takia's from Tallahassee, right? So she's always, in my opinion, had a cushion if things didn't work out. And so when we got married, for me, it was more mental of if I can't live up to my role as a husband, she can go somewhere. Where am I going to go? And I always felt like it was one situation away from her leaving. And then over this two situation we experienced, she made it very clear, I ain't calling my mama or anybody else. We're going to trust God and get through this. And over time, you start realizing, and then family would say, why didn't you tell us? And we went for y'all to figure it out, because we didn't want to create an idle dependency either on family members and friends that we wouldn't trust in God through as well. And so we've had to experience some things. But as I said earlier, because we started out as friends and then best friends, we knew at some point it'll get better. It'll be challenging for now. And so our years later, we thoroughly enjoy. People ask us all the time, why you guys always laugh and joke and play around? Like, listen, I'm married to my best friend. We have fun all the time. Right. And so there's nothing we've experienced where I feel like, and she mentioned about having health scares. Every time she's going through something with her health, I won't look in the lead. If anything, you're trying to figure out, how do I make sure that I uphold and encourage and sustain those things? You don't plan for sickness, right? Those are unforeseen circumstances that you experience, you got to withstand. But if your marriage is fickle and phony, when those things happen, you're out of there. But when you are genuinely holding fast to what you believe God has blessed you with, and you trying to do it God's way, you got to also believe that God is going to strengthen you and empower you to endure those moments as well. And you're not doing it to appease the people. My wife would tell you, I don't like putting on social media our lifestyle, because I'm not trying to impress the social media crowd. I'm not trying to give them the impression that everything is great and wonderful in our marriage. We never have any arguments or things of that nature. No, it's ain't about y'all.
That's right.
When you see me complimenting my wife, I'm doing the same thing with my wife at home as well. And so those things to me really do matter.
I was gonna say, let me get my thoughts, because I'll forget real quick. I think what a lot of couples need to realize is, you said something earlier about not going to family members and asking them, and really and truly, you're not supposed to be, because that is a part of your test of your marriage. And that's a test that you have to go in prayer and wait on God, like Kia said, and wait on God to bring y'all through it, the situation, whatever the financial hardship is. Not go and beg and borrow from family members, because all you're doing there is forming habits that the next time you're short, you're going back again. So you got to learn how to endure. We never went to, I was right here from Tallahassee, and but I never went to my parents and said, hey, we don't have money for our utility bill. And listen, I remember the times where we went, we was barely going from paycheck to paycheck. We were going, when we first got married, I remember waiting to the end. Okay, we got paid at the end of the month, right? I ain't paid the bills at the beginning of the month. I had to wait to the end of that month to get a little money from that month to help to pay last month bills. So we wasn't even going from paycheck to paycheck. We was going from paycheck past paycheck to get some money from the next month. And I had to do that every month. But I never asked anybody for a dime. Never. Because this was something we had to go through. This was our financial situation. If we needed to get a part-time job, then we would go out and get a part-time job on top of our full-time job to make us meet. But we definitely we ate a pot of homemade soup for a whole week. At least once a month you was gonna eat a pot of soup and cornbread.
Let me say this to the audience listening, for those who are saying, I would never do that, I'm calling my family. I think it's important to explain why we're saying this too, because what you're doing is, it may resolve a temporary issue you have in the moment. What you're not realizing is you're now permitting that loved one to involve themselves in your marriage later on. Because once they give you money, they feel like they're entitled to now give you their opinion about your marriage, about how your marriage runs, how your household runs. And that money that they gave you one time may be spent and help resolve an issue. They're never going to give you back access to your marriage. And so you got to be mindful of what you are permitting to enter in and exit in. And it's also just a joy, when you look back on it, to go through a trial with someone that you love and be reassured that we really are in this together. That's the trial. Your children and grandchildren observe that, and they begin to see that it's possible, right? Yeah. For those who've never seen it, it is very possible. But you have to be mindful that loved ones, once you give them access to your marriage, they're not giving that access back. They're going to stay very opinionated about what you do and how you do it.
That's right. That's right. And always open it before you.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's better when you build together. And I think a lot of times struggle comes in when couples have, this is my house, this is your house, so we got to figure this out. But because me and Darrick didn't have anything, and people laugh at me when I say it's like everything we have, we built it together.
Very true.
There was no I, there was we. We, like Ms. Whitfield said, if we both hungry, you hungry, we both hungry.
Both hungry, yeah.
If you don't have no gas, hopefully one of us got gas to get us through
to
the next pay period. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's better when you build together.
Yeah, absolutely. Greater appreciation.
Well, I want to ask a question. What do you think causes couples to lose hope that they cannot sustain their marital bond?
For me, I don't think that they really know the true definition of the word commitment.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a clue. And they lose hope. Sometimes we may say it, but that commitment is not really there to say, I'm going to stay with you through the storm and the rain. That commitment is contingent upon us always being in a good place. That there aren't any times where we're going to be short. Therefore, I can stay committed. But when the rubber meets the road and our backs are against the wall, I may just hit that exit and leave, because I'm not truly committed to you and to this marriage that I vowed that I would stay in it to the end.
Yeah.
For me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'm listening to Mr. Whitfield. It's like the song "Fairweather Friend." I don't know. It just popped up in my head. Like, you got to be there to the end. And I think sometimes couples also lose hope because they start comparing themselves to other couples. We're 5 years in. We should be here by now. Sally Joe and them over there, they have stay in your lane. And Pastor D, I'm calling him Pastor D now. Pastor D always tells the couples in couples ministry, find your flow.
Yeah.
Because what our flow is for our house won't be your flow for your house. And I think a lot of times we play the comparison game when it comes to losing hope.
I'll
And
tell
you
you,
can't-
I thought of three.
Go
No,
ahead,
please, go
Dave.
ahead.
No, I was getting ready to say, and you can't do that comparing because you don't know what that couple had to go through to
Exactly.
get there.
There it is.
So,
There it
you know,
is.
unless you want to go down the road that they went down, you gotta find your own flow.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Your lane.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wrote down three things. I think that how they lose hope is number one, generational, meaning in their previous generations, they never saw their bloodline display going through and coming out. And so they don't have an example or a witness of what it looks like. I think conditional, what you all were saying is they've conditioned themselves to compare to other people. And in some comparisons, you are outdoing the other person, and others you're like you're failing. And I think the last one is spiritual. Is God is out of place in that marriage.
Yeah.
Right. You haven't built it upon God. You're trying to include God in what you've already built, and that's going to always be problematic. None of us will ever be able to say that at any point of our marriage we haven't had some level of struggle, some challenge, some loss, some defeat, things of that nature. But you deal with those things on your job, and you don't quit every time. You find a way to go back to the job you can't. So there are people who go to a job they can't stand Monday through Friday.
That's
That
right.
they talk about quitting, they never quit because that job is producing something at the end of the week, the month that they need to help them sustain. And so it's in you to withstand if you choose to withstand, right? We shouldn't be keeping count and keeping score. It can look hopeless, especially when you compare. I mean, we've done marital counseling with couples, and we know they're going through trying times. And then weeks later, you'll see them post something on social media about how great their marriage is. And you know it's a lie, but you also know they're trying to impress the outward world. And when you begin to do that, the problem with that is that you're now trying to let the outward world become the judge and the jury of your marriage and your success. So you're only showing glorious pictures, right? You're never being honest about things. We were really blessed because we dealt with, unfortunately, parental divorces and struggles where they were very honest with us about, listen, this is how we messed some things up. And we got a chance to really witness that front row and made some commitments very early on what we were not willing to let our marriage look like. And we experienced some things we had to withstand. And then important. And the last thing, let me say this for those couples too: don't be afraid to admit that your marriage needs to go through some therapy. Right? We got to go talk to somebody. Go talk to somebody. Right? Don't get to that point. I was always anti-therapy until I found myself needing therapy. And so sometimes you look at your marriage and say, you know what? I love you enough to say we got to go see somebody.
Yeah.
Got to go see somebody.
And I think that's probably the biggest struggle for young couples today is they really buck against, and many times it's the male, it's the man.
Yeah, I agree.
Who struggles because he don't want somebody else to tell him of those inner things that need to be pulled out of him to get his marriage to that point that he needs to get to. So he wants to display this macho image that I don't need this. We don't need this. We can take care of our own problems. But many times, more times than many, the only thing that's going to help you is to deal with those things that you learn coming up in your house, in your different families of origin. Until you deal with those things right there, because there's some monsters in our past.
Come on, sir.
That we have not formally dealt with. And it's that counselor and it's that therapist who's going to help pull that stuff out.
Right.
It'll break you down, but guess what? You'll be a better husband or a better wife because of.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Well, I'll say this. The wedding vows close by saying, what God has joined together, let no man separate. And so I think that couples need to realize from the onset how unbreakable their bond is supposed to be and to work at it. They also need to look at outside forces called the devil that only needs a crack. And he can come in and cause your bond to break if you allow it. If you don't recognize him, you don't know how to recognize him, he can break your bond.
That's good.
And that goes to the spiritual component of your marriage, that you are constantly soaking each other individually and corporately in prayer, such that when things come against you, especially the tricks of the enemy, that you can look through a spiritual eye and see those things many times before they come. Spiritual to the point where you can recognize it and speak to it and say, we're not going there. We're not going to even go there. So, you know, it's developing our spirituality. That is something that's continuous in us. Yeah, we want to go together as husband and wife. But it's a one-on-one thing. That I can take that mirror and look at myself and say, God, I need you to change this. Or God, I need you to do this. And God will give you that discerning eye to see those things more times than many.
That's right. That's right.
Well, if no one has anything else to say, it is about that time that we come to the close of our day, and let you all know how you can get in contact with us. You can contact us at Danny and Rhoda Whitfield or Marriage Takes Work on Facebook. You can email us at marriagetakeswork2016@gmail.com. We also want to remind you to support our sponsor, Brian D. Smith Cleaning Services at 850-566-3911, or visit them at bdscleaning.com.
And while we at it, I like to brag on my wife, and I'm so proud of the work that she's doing. In 2016, she wrote a grief children's book entitled "Where Did You Go?" During the death of my son. November 22nd, she published "Where Did You Go?" Supplemental guide and journal, which can be utilized by children and adults who are experiencing grief. And I'm dealing now with grief families and children, and this book is so needed for families and children who are experiencing grief. And both of these can be purchased on Amazon and other online outlets.
Well, do us a favor and share this broadcast with your friends, married and single. With that being said, we'd like to give a special thanks to Pastor Darrick and First Lady Takia McGhee for joining us here on Marriage Takes Work, and remind you, our listening and viewing audience, to stay the course and be blessed.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you wish to contact us, inbox us at Marriage Takes Work on Facebook.
And don't forget to join us next week, same time, for another segment of Marriage Takes Work. Remember to love hard
And work your marriage.